Hello and a very warm welcome to all the viewers. My name is Arun and you have started watching the AI with Arun show. My guest in this episode is Ronik Patel, who is the founder and CEO of Weam.ai. He's a dynamic entrepreneur with a background in building successful web agencies and technology ventures. Ronik previously founded UnlimitedWP, which he scaled and sold it over to another company to focus on AI innovations. He holds a degree from Rutgers University and Babson College and has founded multiple companies, including JD Softtech, Hisably, and now Weam.ai. His platform aims to help digital agencies and startups effectively harness Gen AI or generative AI technologies. So, Rani, a very warm welcome to our show, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to our audience.
Thank you, Arun, for having me.
Great. So let's get right into the show. So tell our viewers, what does Veeam.ai do, the company that you founded, and what was the motivation for starting this company?
I think I can start with the motivation first, right? So as you mentioned in the intro, I was running an agency business before, a web dev shop, and we had over 100 people. And a couple of years ago, right, when the ChatGPT comes out, of course everyone's using it, and then I'm wondering how does my 100+ team member use it effectively? And it was too early to have any other SaaS products in the market where we can really adopt to AI in our day-to-day workflow. That was the problem. So we built a really quick tool to have our entire team be on a single interface and use LLM models, right? And then we realized, well, we are stuck to one model specifically. Can we integrate with other models, right? And that's where really the idea of Vim came to us. From that point on, within a year, we had sold that agency. There was no, prior plans on exiting in that particular year. We were still out by a couple of years with what the goals we had, but we exited that to focus completely on the Vim. So that was really the motivation, because we didn't really see any tools that met that need, and also realize that if we are facing this down the lines, more and more companies, as they look to adapt to AI into their workflows, they're going to see that same pain point. And one of the pain point was cost, right? Is like, how do I get 100+ people a premium ChatGPT or premium Anthropic access, right? It will just be enormously costly. And we being developers, we're like, oh, there are APIs, right? And then when we see APIs on any platforms, we tend to get very happy. I'm like, there's an API, so we can work around it and can build something where the entire team can use AI without necessarily paying for that per member monthly subscription fees. So that's where the idea of the Vim came. Then we locked down on the digital agency, basically the space that we were in, as our target audience. Simple reason there was that we've been in that space for almost 10 years now. So we know that market, we know where digital agencies, IT companies hang out, what their typical company structure looks like, what type of investment they put into the tech space and the marketing, and all the other aspects. So it was more natural for us to use that as our target audience. So we can actually solve the real pain points, rather than saying, hey, we have built these tools that anybody can use it out there. And now coming to what's Vim right now is we are in the beta phase right now. We are out live. Any agencies or IT companies can sign up and try out the platform. We're focused on building the agents, and the prompt library right now is one of the needs, or one of the core pillar of the Vim is it should just work, right? There's so many tools out there. You need something that just works for you today. And we are realizing that, having a prompt library, having an agent library, because not all the people can invest the amount of time that we are investing into it. So providing them those libraries, it's almost like giving them a head start and start using AI.
Yeah, so Rani, that's a great intro. So if you can give a couple of examples of how your customers are using your platform. If I'm a digital agency, for example, how and what use cases should I be looking at to use a platform?
So last quarter, last year, when we rolled out Alpha, we onboarded about 30-ish companies to give us feedback, and we can knock out any bugs that we had on the platform. And we found some interesting use cases, right? One of the companies that we onboarded, they had over 250 people, and that they were almost ready to buy ChatGPT for 250 people. The cost there would be over $5,000 a month, right? And when we onboarded them, and we have, within Veeam, you have this different brains, we call them, almost like a different folders you can create, and you assign your for example, marketing team, right? So there's a folder called marketing, and all your marketing team is assigned to that folder. So any chats or any threads that gets created in that folder is shared across that entire marketing team. And you can actually tag people within the chat interface and really collaborate. So that was interesting. For example, in one of the marketing groups, right, somebody working on the SEO told the developer that, hey, I need this fixed on the website. And the developer says, well, that's not technically possible. The SEO person comes on the whim, would ask it to the ChatGPT model, gets the answer, and then texts the developer and say, hey, I can, this looks pretty, I'm not a developer, but I can see that this is pretty straightforward. Can you do it, right? So those type of when we start seeing those type of feedback, we got happy, like, okay, there's a lot of these use cases that can come out of the collaboration, where in the market right now there are many tools out there and nobody's offering that level of collaboration. So we got really excited about the collaboration. Another thing from those early companies, we realized that when you have a large companies, people have their different favorite models, right? Some people like ChatGPT, some people like Anthropic's model, some people would like Gemini model, and just having one unified interface, right? And just a simple drop down to select which model you want to work with. That really makes it easier for people. So there were people who were in Claude camp, because developers, we have noticed that they seem to like that more over the OpenAI models, right? So they got excited that, okay, now I don't have to rely on a free version of a Claude. I can use their premium models with my day-to-day work. Then some of the managers, they started building out their agents and the prompt libraries that they wanted their team to use every time they had an interaction. For example, one of the account managers, she created prompt profiles, we call it, on their clients. So all their top clients that she was managing, she had created profiles on them. So now when you're asking something to a model, you can simply tag that profile. So the model is aware about that context around that client, and you don't have to every time provide that when you're asking something, right? So multiple, from the cost perspective to collaboration to having a prompt profiles, those were our intended areas, that the problems we wanted to solve around that. And we're just so glad to see that the early adopters enjoying those features as well.
Oh, that's brilliant, Ronik. So if I understand it right, so let's say I have an enterprise and my marketing department loves ChatGPT, whereas my developers like Claude. So are you basically suggesting that we can go to your platform as a company, and all my marketing guys can therefore use ChatGPT, and all the developer guys can use Claude? Is that a possibility that you're offering on your platform?
Yes. So how you're on the ChatGPT, on the drop down, you can select all the models that OpenAI offers. It's the same interface, but instead of just OpenAI models, you'll see models from various different providers. So as you can have, you can even ask the first question to, let's say, O3 model, and then the follow-up question you can ask it to Gemini model, right? So we're really model agnostic in that sense. So yes, whichever preference. And I even personally, in my use cases, I usually ask it to this model, and if I don't like it, rather than asking again to that same model and asking it for correction, first I'll try it out and ask that same question to another model, and usually that works out better. And also I don't have to change my prompt, right? I can just simply run that same prompt again with a different model. So yes, exactly. It's up to you on which model or which preferences you have, and you can work with that model accordingly.
So that looks like a lot of time saving for the people, because personally when I'm doing it, I have all these browsers open, right, for ChatGPT, Gemini, and others, right, in MetaLlama, and it's like a copy paste in each browser, right? But what you're suggesting is basically saves time for a lot of people. So I think that's a brilliant idea.
And saves a lot of cost too, right?
And yeah. So talking about the cost part, so how does it work for an enterprise? Because today enterprises are, they have subscriptions from OpenAI, they have subscriptions from Gemini, they have subscriptions from pretty Claude. So how does it work if we go through your platform? Does it save me money?
Oh, it'll save a lot of money. So right now, our pricing is $6 per user. And with that $6, you're getting to access all sorts of different models, and you're not tied to one model. And if you look at it, all the different LLM providers, they're all generally priced around $20-30 per user range just for one model, right? So in terms of cost saving, it's huge. What we do is we use APIs of those same models. So in terms of the answers that you get, it's the same answers that you would have gotten if you had used ChatGPT directly. Now, when we use that APIs, what we do for the enterprises, we allow them to plug in their own API keys into the platform. So there is no additional cost from our end that they have to pay.
Got it. Got it. And in terms of responsible AI, ethical AI, guardrails in the enterprise, right? Is that something that your platform takes care of, or are you reliant on the APIs from OpenAI and Google or others?
So we have a robust monitoring system to spot for any abuse or those sort of patterns. But yes, like since we are using API, it's a free unrestricted access to that model. And usually it's those models are the one that would put a guardrail. It would get very confusing if we start putting guardrails on our end, which I don't know, we may have to put it down the line. We haven't seen anything fishy in that sense. To put a guardrail there, other than the usage policies, right? But we are relying on the guardrails that are put by the model providers rather than on the our end.
Understood. Understood. So in other words, if any user were to ask a question which may not against organizational policy, it would still let me, but then I will not get an answer.
Yes, you'd get the same error that you'd get on let's say on Gemini. So for example, on Gemini, I think right now, if you ask to create an image with the real person in it, you get an error that you have to be on the paid plan, for example, so something like that, right? Whatever those errors you see on those platforms, you'd get those same exact errors.
Got it. Got it. So, Ronik, talk to our viewers about some of the benefits. You sort of alluded to that earlier, but maybe if you can double down on that a little bit in terms of the kind of industry segments where you are seeing more traction, or in terms of specific business functions, for example, sales, marketing, finance, or digital agencies, and the kind of benefits that they're actually seeing. If you can double down on that a little bit.
Yeah. Looking at all the different departments of an IT company, which is more like any other business, right? If I had to pick one, the sales and marketing teams are the one that are adopting it faster than any other teams in the company. And their use cases are something that the current AI can also solve, right? For a lot of the other, for example, for finance people, it's not that easy to work with it because every company's finance, it's very unique. Their Excel and their formulas, at some degree, it works, but not like sales and marketing, where almost all their use cases are solved by the current technology or the current stage of the technology we are at. Second is HR is as well. For example, we have companies, they have built their HR bots or HR agents in the Weam in their general folder. So the entire company is able to access that, right? And you can ask any HR related question like, can I take a leave tomorrow? Or what's the policy around this in the company? Especially for the freshers or the new employees who are joining the organizations. We have seen them build a recruitment bot where they'll upload in PDF and ask, is this a good candidate for, and tag their profile for this job opening we have, right? So it's really like going in there and selecting the recruitment bot, uploading a PDF and hitting enter. They don't have to even mention anything because the bot or the agent already knows what to do, right? And then they'll get a response saying, well, no, the candidate gets 6 out of 10 because it doesn't have this experience or the skill set that you need. So HR is another space where we are seeing a lot of use cases. For developers, yes, but at the same time, the developers, for example, we internally use tools like Cursor, right? All of our developers have a premium plans with the Cursor. Those are better suited platform than a chat interface to do your coding work, right? And we even recommend to IT companies that for your hard code coding needs, use Cursor, and we're a big fan of those type of tools that can help with your coding needs. So there I'm answering. Let's forget about the Vim. In just in general, what are the different business areas that we think are utilizing AI right now? So definitely sales and marketing, HR, uh, development teams, design team, not so much, as design can get very specific, right? There's a lot of subjective nature in the design, and the tools out there, they aren't that great in terms of design. There are tools that we use that take your Figma designs into, let's say, a website, right? But in terms of actually coming up with your actual unique Figma designs, the tools that are out there, they're aren't that great, right? For example, ideogram, if you've heard about it, it's a great for creating like images here and there, but a lot of the more custom in nature designs, like we haven't really seen any tools that for example, there have been wireframing tools out there which are okay-ish at the current level. So design department, I would say those people would have to wait a bit longer to see some more market innovations in that space. Finance, as I said, yes and no type of thing, depends on what you're doing. So yeah, but if we have to average it out across all the departments, I would say at least half of the company is utilizing AI in their day-to-day needs, and other half is probably not there yet. And this is just my own opinion from what I've seen and what I've experienced.
Right. All right. So, point very well made. Just to my audience, if you're spending probably a lot of money on having all of these different kind of subscriptions with OpenAI, Gemini, and all that, right? So, Ronic has this great tool that helps save you a lot of money while offering the same sort of benefits. So, why not use Weam.ai rather than on spending so much money on other tools?
Thank you, Arun, for that shout out.
Yeah. No, all right. So no, this is good. This is good. So let's talk about your vision for the company, right? A little bit more about the future. So where do you see the company Weam.ai in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years time? Are you thinking about expanding into more geographies, or thinking about more expanding to multiple use cases, the market share? How is that your vision?
So we're pretty niche-driven organization. We don't want to solve all the pain points for all the industries out there, right? And we have seen this in matured SaaS industries. Like if we take a CRM, for example, there is a Salesforce and Pipedrive, and these tools that really cater to all sorts of businesses. But then as that industry has matured, there are now niche specific CRM systems, right? If you, for example, if you run a pest control business, probably there is a CRM out there just made for that pest control business, because then they go deeper into their use cases and try to solve those over the more generalized use cases of Salesforce, for example, right? So we see Vim over the time just getting more deeper and deeper into the needs of the IT companies, digital agencies, and solving their pain points rather than expanding into other industries. So that's something we're pretty locked down as of now, that we don't really want to explore any other industries. That's one industry that we will follow, and we see how, for example, what I was saying earlier about design, designers not having that ability, but let's say there's a model out there or service out there that is actually now solving their pain points, right? Then our mission would be, let's integrate that into the Veeam, so the designers of the IT companies are also able to use the AI, right? In that sense, the industry is the same. Within that industry, we want to go more and more deeper, is because one of the problems we see is with the context, right? The models does not know your business. It doesn't know you. It doesn't have access to your emails. It doesn't have access to your Evernote or Notion or whatnot, right? So it's going to be limited and very generalized when it answers you. And that's where we spend a lot of time in R&D in saying, how do we tap into where their data lies, right? And if that data was available, and pairing that with what the models are able to do, I think that's when you would really see the productivity gains that is all hyped about, right? And without that context, the use of the models would be very limited to the generalized use cases. So that's something over the next 2-3 years we would go deeper and deeper and figuring it out. How do we bring that context behind the scenes, right? Because we want to keep it very simple and easy for users. They shouldn't even know how is Vim doing this. If I go to ChatGPT and I ask the same questions, I'm not able to get this rich answer, context aware answer that I'm able to get it on the Vim. So that's something those areas would focus very heavily on. Right now, we already do that by prompt engineering, by fine-tuning models, by using RAG. We existentially do use RAG in Vim right now, but those practically we are seeing a lot of limitations with that, and I think we're in the early stages of that. So that's one particular area that we see that we can go very deep into solving those problems. And I'm not saying we have solved it right now, but if we are able to make answers more context aware, I think we're like unbeatable for that space. We would be the best option for them going forward. And what we are aiming to be is, like, if you look at any IT companies or agency, they have this tech stack, like you need something for communication. If it's not Microsoft Teams or Skype or Slack or something, right, you need a hosting provider, you need some Figma or Sketch license or Adobe or something, right? Like there's a one tool in every category you need, and then there's going to be this AI category. Like, okay, there's one paid tool we need, and we would like that to be the Vim for that IT companies.
Wow, that's a wonderful vision, Ronik, and I wish you good success in achieving that vision. But it's brilliantly laid out.
Thank you.
So thank you for sharing that with our audience. So, Ronik, talking a little bit more about the future of AI, right? You are in the middle of it. You're in the thick of things, trying to make things work for your customers and clients. So, how do you see AI shaping the future of work, right? And I'm sure Weam.ai has a role to play as the future is getting shaped. So, first, talk to the viewers about how you see the future of work.
I think like COVID changed a lot, right? Like it did change how we worked. Some of it has gone back to how it was, but I think some things have just changed permanently. So AI is going to be doing the same thing, right? Some of the things will change permanently in the coming years. We do see people struggling with the real use cases, that, hey, I'm on the ChatGPT or I have the access. Okay, what do I do now? There is that problem, like real use cases beyond generic uses that you have of the LLMs. So I think that's where, and that makes it very hard to predict right now, is how things would be. Are we going to be able to solve this context problem soon, right? If I were to assume that the context problem is solved and the model somehow just has access to everything, your private data, then things are going to change very rapidly once we reach, just how that in general sense, when people talk about AGI, once we reach there, this would happen, that would happen. More practically for the business, I think when that context, a problem is solved for them, we would see things happen very rapidly. And it's not really about replacing humans, right? Our creativity or our decision-making skills, is just those skills would be 100 times more emphasized, and it would just make it more easier for you. And at that point, you don't really have to sell it to people that, hey, use it. They'll just use it. It's like emails, right? You don't have to tell people that you should have an email account. You just have it. I do see it eventually becoming like that there's no discussions around, is it useful? No, it's just the nature of things, right? Probably in 5 years, my guess is we will reach to that stage. And innovations with what big companies are coming out with, it's usually that's like way ahead, and the whole market is still playing the catch-up game. They're figuring out how do we use it internally. There's a lot of haze around, as I was saying, the real life use cases. As those things will solve, I think we'll move very rapidly, and then I would say it would reshape how we work. Up until then, it's going to be a lot of work in the progress.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, the future is evolving. There are a lot of uncertainties around it, right? And as companies figure out and see other examples, maybe somebody's bold enough. There are companies who are bold enough to take that first leap of faith, and more companies will follow. So that's probably the way. You're right. So Ronik, there are companies who are adopting AI, and there are other parts of the company, or even within the same company, different departments who are a little slow or hesitant to adopt AI in their use cases. So, what would your advice be to, especially to those companies or departments who are very hesitant to adopt AI?
Let's just start simple, right? Take a one step at a time. If likely you are using ChatGPT or some models, right? If you're not, then use it. If you are, then I think the gradual next step is to look at the prompt engineering. And then it could be, if you are already doing prompt engineering, then the next step could be, now let's go outside of ChatGPT, right? And there are platforms like LangChain. You could build something small really quickly, or use something like Langflow. And these tools, then experiment with RAG. Fine tuning is getting easier day by day. It's not the word that people should be afraid about. It is, it is something getting easier to learn, right? So those big words or big challenges are getting easier day by day. So I would, advise any business, don't be afraid of it. I think 2 years from the now, if you are looking to get into at that point, you should be afraid, because by then there would be so much stuff out there and it would be overwhelming, and you don't know. Like, for example, if I had not gotten into crypto and not the cryptocurrency but blockchain, let's say, right, and trying to understand it now would be far more difficult than if I had tried to understood it like in 2018, right? Just like that, like the sooner the better. Right now it's not that there are not so many as a business, right? Like you're not responsible for making new LLMs. You just have to use it. So in that cases, it's very straightforward right now. Just spending a couple of months on it, you'd be up to speed with what's happening in the space. So it's really a perfect timing to get into it right now. I would strongly encourage that to all the listeners.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, starting small, you don't have to boil the ocean. Just start small, get your feet, hands dirty, and then, as it progresses, you learn from it, and then you expand.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ronik, what would your advice be to young professionals who want to make a career in AI?
Amazing timing, because the whole SaaS space will be disrupted, right? I think Satyanarayana said that SaaS space probably it may not exist down the line, but there's a lot of disruption that you can bring right now. So if you either from the point of just being an AI consultant, or you probably, if you were looking to do a product, or if you like to, there's so many openings I see in the companies for their AI department, right? They want somebody to come in and just like take their current processes, look at their workflows, look at their tools that they use, and they want somebody to come in and like just suggest them what they should do, because not everybody can afford to go to those big consulting firms, right? To figure it out how. So for the young professionals, like getting in the midst of it right now, there are a lot of opportunities. Either you're looking to get a good job, or looking to build your product, or start a service company, or just simple even consulting on the side, right? It's If you are already in the space, what I said earlier, it will take a couple of months to get familiar with what's happening. That's assuming that you're already in the space and you understand database and you understand CRUD operations, right? Assuming you know those things, a couple of months. For other people out there not knowing those things, it's like, they would not even dare to try to understand it. So there's that huge need for you to step in and fill that void. So amazing time for those the young professionals or people who are getting out of colleges right now to get into this space.
Well, that's great. You're right, Satya Nadella. Yeah, I'm reminded of that statement too. That SaaS is dead, and here come the agents, and probably it's going to be agent as a service.
Agent as a service, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's a very
yeah.
interesting. I think this year we'll see a lot more about the agents. Last year we didn't see it that much. I think this year I'm so excited to like see what the whole new agentic workflows and the browser workflows, and just excited to see. Probably it wouldn't really materialize this year itself, right? But it'll be cool to see what other. There's so many teams around the world are working on it. So really excited to see all the new agentic workflows.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So, right with that, we jump on to the last segment of our show, which is the rapid fire round.
Okay.
All right. So, here's my first question to you: what is your favorite AI tool or application?
There are lots, but there's this one I've been using lately called Gamma.app. It's a presentation maker. I was a bit skeptic. I'm like, I don't know if I would like the AI made presentations, right? And then I made it, and something that would have taken me a couple of hours to get it done. It's like 15 minutes. So use it right now if you're somebody like me who needs to make presentations frequently. Gamma.app.
Okay, and is it free?
I've been using a free version. I think I had to buy credit once, but most of the times I've used it, it has been free.
Okay, wonderful. So moving on to the second question. What is one thing you wish more people understood about AI?
I think the fear, right? There's that fear, unspoken fear, spoken fear around replacing you. It's not going to replace you. It's just going to enhance you. I think AI and humans will work more collaboratively. I hope people understand that, right? That it's not here to replace you. Just jump on that wagon, and it'll just make you more efficient. I think there was an article from The Economist over the weekend, and they were saying that the initially people the earlier reports were saying that it will eliminate the gap between the skilled worker and not so skilled workers because there is this power of AI, right? Now, the more recent studies that are coming out of the MIT, a couple of studies that they were referenced, and I looked into it, it was like, no, actually, for some of the industries, the gap would get even larger because if you already have a skilled and then you use an AI versus somebody who doesn't have a skill and use an AI, right? There's that gap, the difference. The person with the skill and the AI would excel much faster than somebody with no skills. Because, for example, if you're a researcher, right, and you have an AI and somebody who's a newbie, let's say a graduate student, right, you need to be able to understand what the AI responses are saying, right? So in that sense, the fear that is out there, I think we shouldn't worry about that right now. And I hope people understand that just jump on it. The sooner you use it, the better off you would be individually.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that,
Right.
that, that was a little too long for rapid fire.
No, but that's a good answer. That's a good answer. Right. The third one. What is the most exciting potential benefit of AI?
There's many. The one that I'm looking for is like personal assistance. The couple that I tried didn't really work. But I think that problem will be solved. The personal AI assistance, right, with the agentic workflows and all those things. So I'm looking forward to get my personal Jarvis, right? That's I think a lot of people are excited about that. Just having personal assistants that work. So I'm excited for that potential whenever that happens.
Yeah, and you never know. I mean, it might be just around the corner.
Yeah.
Right. If you just look at ChatGPT about 2 years ago and now, the kind of responses that you have has been phenomenal. There's been an exponential increase. So the personal
Yes.
assistant might be around the corner.
Yeah.
Okay. The fourth one. What is the biggest potential risk of AI?
I don't know if I'm the qualified person to answer that, but from like deep fakes to going nuclear, right? It's the deep fakes are here. Going nuclear, that's not here, and let's hope that it never gets here. Anything can happen, but precisely, I have a background in genetics, so my fear is, and I've seen like Google's AlphaCode models and like these protein models, and they can make predictions on how proteins unfold. Those are some serious stuff, and the new model that the Google came out with, they're keeping it private right now and only allowing access to the researchers, pre-approved researchers. I think that getting on hands-on, some elements in the society. Imagine like a COVID 100 times more powerful, right? I think that would be very scary. And it doesn't even seem like that would take years to get there. If the Google has cracked those models, I think eventually there would be an open source version of it. And that would be scary. If even in just knowing that, that ability is just out there in the open, and there's just the clock ticking, right? It's just a matter of time when somebody would misuse that. That's something I would be very wary of.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, technology by itself is never good or bad. It's we humans who either use it
Who
in a
use
good
it.
way or a bad way. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then the last one I have for you is, what is your favorite book or movie about AI?
Robocop. Movie I heard. I don't know, the Westworld. The movies probably I haven't seen that really grasps what's happening in the recent years, right? But in terms of book, I'm reading The Singularity is Nearer by the Ray Kurzweil. Very futuristic book, and it's like humans and machine becoming one. Pretty interesting book. So to the in people in the audience, if you're just wondering how things are gonna evolve and say it's like checking out Singularity is Nearer. It's a sequel book to Singularity is Near, and now we are nearer. So that's a very interesting book that I'm reading right now.
Beautiful, wonderful. I'll have that book in my reading list as well. I haven't read that book.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like the Ray Kurzweil, he wrote the first book in 2005, and he had predicted in that book that the AGI sort of would come in 2029. So that was just crazy, right? In 2005 was predicted to. So he's been pretty spot on with the timeline that he had given, and I think now that the things he's talking about, I think it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, wonderful. Wonderful. So thank you, Ronik. That brings us toward the end of our show. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to our audience. And I really love this conversation.
Thank you, Arun, for having me on the show. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. You have a wonderful rest of the day.